Good afternoon, dear students. Today we will be talking about DBMS lab with mini project. The code of the subject is 18CSL58. So let us see the evaluation scheme of the lab. So here part A, we have two parts, part A and part B in the lab. So part A is SQL programming. The maximum marks is 50. Actually, in the older scheme it is 50, but for you it is 60-40 scheme. So I suppose it is 60 and 40. So let us recheck, because when I checked in the tentative syllabus, it is like this. It may be a mistake. So let us recheck again. Okay. So part A may be of 60 marks. It consists of design, develop. Here you can see design, develop and implement the specified queries for the following problems using Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL Server or any other DBMS under Linux Windows environment. So here there are 5 questions, 5 databases you need to design, and you have to perform some operations on that database. So those operations you will be performing using any of these DBMS softwares, that is Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL Server or any other related database. I suggest you to go for MySQL. In our lab also we have installed MySQL, and it is open source. You can download and install on your system, either on Linux platform or Windows platform. You can install it, so that will be better. So MySQL, when you come to the next lab, if possible, please install your systems with MySQL so that you can work out, right? Then next thing is create schema and insert at least 5 records. So what you need to do, you have to create the given database and you have to insert at least 5 records for each of the tables created and perform and add the appropriate database constraints. We'll see how you can do all these things. Okay. Next, that is part A. Part B is it deals with a mini project. You have to do a mini project here. This is for 30 marks they have given. Probably it is for 40 marks. So here what you need to do is you have to develop front end and back end both. Back end means where the data is stored. Front end is which is available to user, which is the end which is available to the user to work with the database. For example, when you work with ATM machine, so you are not available with data in the bank, right? I mean, directly you are not accessing the data in the bank. Through the ATM interface, where some buttons are available, some controls are available, so you can press on them and you can perform some operation. So that is user interface, right? So user interface is called as the front end, which connects to the back end, which connects the user to the back end to perform the operations. Okay, so that front end and back end both you have to create. Back end you will be creating using MySQL, and front end you can create using any of these languages, Java or C# or PHP, Python, Node.js, any other languages which you are familiar with or which you are good at. You can create front end with that, and back end you can use MySQL, and you can create a connectivity between them, and you have to demonstrate any real life mini project. Like you can visit our library for previous batch students mini projects to know what they have done. Their reports are available in the department library, and some of the examples are like ATM management, library management, then ticket booking, airline reservation, railway reservation. So many other fantastic mini project ideas are available. You can just Google it and you will get many of the options. Okay, so that is about the mini project. Then all applications must be demonstrated on desktop or laptop as a standalone or web-based application. So you can create a standalone application or a web-based application, but Android app is not permitted. Okay, mobile apps on Android or iOS are not permitted. You cannot create an app. It should be an application. It may be a standalone application, means which runs only on a system, or it may be a web application which runs on the internet. Okay, so any kind of application is acceptable. The installation procedure of the required software must be demonstrated, carried out in groups and documented in the journal. So there can be 2 students in a group. One project can be done by 2 students in a group, and you have to register yourself by deciding your topic. Okay, so as soon as possible before next week, Tuesday, I suggest all of you give your topics to me. You can just text it or mail it. Okay, decide your topic and register so that no other student can take the same topic. Okay, so as soon as you register your topic, you will be available with that topic. Okay, so that is about the mini project. So we have 2 parts. Part A, where you will have to create any one of the 5 databases, and you have to perform some operations on it. And part B is mini project. You have to create both front end and back end, and also you have to demonstrate it. Fine. So these are the parts of the examination. Okay, coming to the lab. So you know what is this lab about, right? DBMS lab with mini project. DBMS stands for Database Management System lab with mini project. Okay, so what is this database management system? To go with that, let us see what is data. So you all know what is data. It is a collection of information, the fact that can be recorded and which have implicit meaning. It is a data. The data may be, for example, if you take a real life entity, customers, right? Real life entity is a customer. So real life entity means which exists in our real life. Maybe an employee, maybe a department, maybe a library, maybe a university, a college, anything. Okay, a supermarket. Anything is a real life entity. Okay, so customer is a real life entity here, and these are the properties of that entity. So what are the properties which can be associated with customer? The customer may have a name, the number of the customer, and the city to which the customer belongs to. Okay, so these are the attributes. You can list as many attributes as you require for a particular entity. Okay, so this is the data of a customer, right? So these are the attributes of the customer, which is nothing but the data, we can say. Database, it is a collection of interrelated data. Okay, it is a collection of interrelated data. So these can be stored in the form of tables. Okay, so these will be stored in the form of tables in the backend. We just discussed about the backend, right? So that in the backend we will be storing the tables. Why tables? Because we can have rows and columns connection, where we can have rows as one set of values for a particular entity, and columns are the attributes we can store. Okay, so like in the previous slide you saw customer details. So customer name, customer number, customer city can be columns, and the values which you place for these columns makes the rows, right? So one customer name is some XYZ, customer number is 1, city is Bangalore. Another customer name is ABC, customer number is 2, customer city is Delhi. Okay, like that rows will be for different customers, the values of different customers, and columns will make these attributes. Okay, you'll be more familiar with these things in upcoming discussions in our upcoming slides. So we say that the database is a collection of interrelated data. These can be stored in the form of tables. The database can be of any size and varying complexity. Okay, so database, there is no size restriction. It can be of any size, and it can be huge complex also. A database may be generated and manipulated manually, or it may be computerized. Okay, so database may be generated and manipulated. You can create a database manually, or it may be computerized also. So in earlier days, when computers were not much in use, how the library data used to be maintained? So like you might have come across or ask your parents how it will be maintained. They used to keep a ledger, huge ledger, where all the stock details of the library, books of the library will be kept, and another ledger where the issue and return data will be kept. So that is a manual way of maintaining a database. So computerized means, now you know our library how they will maintain the computers, right? So whenever we have barcode readers, using which the books will be issued and will be taken and returned, right? So it is computerized way of managing the data. See, for example, customer database consists of the field as customer name, customer number, and customer city. Database system, okay, DBMS. So now we have studied about data, we studied about database. Now we'll see database system, DBS. So DBMS, we'll see what it is. It is database system is a computerized system whose overall purpose is to maintain the information and to make that information available on demand. So it will maintain all the information belonging to a particular entity, and whenever the user asks for any information, the database system will be providing it. So now coming to the core, the DBMS, database management system. So what it is, a general purpose software that provides the users with processes of defining, constructing and manipulating the database for various applications. So what you can do here, it is a general purpose software. You can do different kinds of operations on this. So what it will provide the users with processes of defining, constructing and manipulating. Defining means how your database should be. You design first, then according to the design you construct, and then after constructing you put some data into it and manipulate the data. Manipulating means adding more data, deleting the existing data, updating the data, retrieving the data. All those things are manipulating operations. Okay, so database management system is a general purpose software which will provide you to perform operations on the data like defining, constructing and manipulating for various kind of applications. So now disadvantages of file processing. So what happens if DBMS is not there? Then we should go for file system, right? So you have come across files, working of files in C language, right? You have studied how to work with files in C language, creating a file, deleting a file, closing, opening a file in different modes, then accessing the data present in the file, isn't it? So those operations you have studied in your C language. So how that if DBMS is not there, we would have depended on those files for storage of data, isn't it? To access some data and to manipulate the data. But it is very difficult because it doesn't provide you a structured method for manipulating the data. So what are the disadvantages? Let us say. The data redundancy and inconsistency. There is no procedure for checking. What is redundancy? Redundancy means repetitive presence of data. Okay. Repetitive presence of data, and inconsistency means it is not consistent. If some changes are made in one place, automatically it will not make those changes in the other places. Okay, so that problem will be there. And if you store one type of data in one file, the same data may be stored in some other file also. There is no procedure for checking whether the data is redundantly stored or not in the file processing method. And it is difficult to access in which file it is present. You only have to find out and access the data. There is no procedure for finding out where our data is present. So accessing is a problem. Then data isolation. So data isolation, a particular type of data you cannot isolate as a group. Then data integrity. So data integrity means maintenance of accuracy and consistency of the data. So accurate data and consistent data maintenance is not possible. Then concurrent access is not possible. Simultaneously multiple data accessing is not possible. Then security issues are there. So because files may not be as secure as we have our DBMS softwares, so security problems will be there. So in contrast, let us see what are the advantages of database management system. Data independence, the isolated, efficient data access, you can efficiently access the data. See, all those disadvantages which we discussed in the previous slide are overcome here, and they have become the advantages of DBMS. Data integrity and security. So data integrity, as I said, it is maintenance of accuracy and consistency of the data, and security is also there for the data. So you can restrict, only these users can access these data, and some of the users cannot access this data. So likewise, security you can provide for the data which is stored in the database management system. Then data administration is possible. So like you can create multiple users, you can give them some privileges, and you can take off some privileges, so that administration can be done. Then concurrent access can be done simultaneously from different tables. You can access the data. And crash recovery. For example, if you are performing some operation, meanwhile the system crashes, then you can recover the lost data. We'll see how you can do all these things. Then reduced application development time. As it is easy to maintain and work with, it will be reducing your application development time. So these are the advantages of the database management system. The database application. So where and all, in which application areas we will be making use of these database management system. So banking, this you have seen, right? In banking, just now I gave you the example of ATM. So all the customer details will be stored in the bank, and we can access through any interface like ATM. All transactions will be maintained through database management system. Then in airline reservations scheduling, that is also a database application, right? So where who have reserved, who have cancelled, so how many seats are pending, so how many, what is the cost of the seats, all those things, at what time which flight is moving, which destination it is reaching, everything is a data, right? And it should be available in real time, so that is also a challenge, right? So this is also an application area. Then universities, for example our VTU is maintaining all your details, right? Your registrations, your results, your IA marks, fee details, everything university will be having, right? Even our college will also maintain your details, so that there also comes the management of data. Then sales, when it is having like an organization, sales organization or a supermarket, we can have customer details, we can have product stock details, then we have purchases details also. Then online retailers, so online retailers, like you purchase online something, like maybe it is Flipkart or Amazon, then you can track your order, right? You can track your order and customize the recommendations. So who have ordered what, whether payment is done or it is cash on delivery, how many products, at what time it will reach, after it reaches that order has to be marked as delivered. All those details are to be stored, right? So these are all examples which you can take as topics for your mini project also. Then manufacturing. In the manufacturing industry, you should keep track of the production, inventory, orders and supply chain, isn't it? So that there also a huge amount of data will be generated which need to be kept track of. So that is also an application area of database. Then human resources. So for example, any organization which is maintaining details of employee, their salaries, their tax deductions, that will also be contributing to the data generation. So that is also an application area of the database. Okay, so now we have studied the basics of DBMS. What is data, what is database, what is database management system, and what are the advantages and application areas. So now we'll see how you can create your own database to store the data. Okay, how you can create your own database to store the data and even manipulate the data. Okay, so how you can store that data and manipulate, work with that data is using a language called as structured query language, SQL in short, structured query language. Okay, so what is the query? Query is a question which is thrown to the database to fetch some data. So it is a structured query language used to work with the database which is stored in the backend. Okay, so it is designed, the SQL language is designed and implemented at IBM Research in late 1970s. SQL commands are mainly categorized into 4 categories. They are DDL, DML, DQL and DCL. Okay, so SQL, the sublanguages of SQL are DDL, which stands for data definition language, DML, which stands for data manipulation language, DQL, which is data query language, DCL, which stands for data control language. Okay, so we'll see what are those. Data definition language means defining the database, declaring, creating the tables, altering the structure of the table, deleting the table itself, the structure, the total structure of the table we are doing here. That is data definition, using data definition language. Data manipulation language means after creation of the database, what data you store within that you can manipulate using data manipulation language. Like you can retrieve, you can add, you can delete. Okay, you can fetch a particular data, that is using the data manipulation language. Then DQL is data query language, means you throw the query onto the database and then you can get some result according to the query what you have given to the database. That is through data query language. And DCL is data control language. Data control language means to control the data. We'll see what are all the different statements which come under these different sub-languages of SQL. Okay, look at this diagram. So here you can see DDL, DQL, DML and DCL. So what are the different statements which are coming under these sub-languages are like this. If you take particularly this DDL, DDL has create, alter, drop, rename, truncate and comment. Okay, so these all statements come under the DDL. Then we'll see in detail all of them. Then DQL, data query language, has one statement called select, which is of most importance to us to work with database. Then data manipulation language, which consists of these statements like insert, update, delete, merge, call, explain, plan and lock table. So these are coming under the DML. DCL, data control language, is grant and revoke. These two are coming under the DCL. Okay, so these are some of the statements which we will be using. These will be using for performing different operations with the database. Let us see DDL, data definition language. So before you need to work with the database, you have to create the database, right? So for creating the database, we make use of DDL, definition, data definition language. It consists of the SQL commands that can be used to define the database schema. Okay, the database schema is the database structure which is defined in a formal language. The structure of the database defined in a formal language is database schema. Okay, how a table look like, what are all the attributes we should have, what are all the fields we should have, rows, data we should have, that will be decided by the database schema. Then used to create and modify the structure of database objects in the database. So here we will decide what database object should be there in the database. Examples of DDL commands are create. Create is a command which is used to create the database or its objects. So what you are going to create? You are going to create a table or an index, a function, a view, a stored procedure and trigger. Any of these you can create. Okay, so any of these you can create. Okay, sorry. So create is used to create a table or an index or a function or a view or a stored procedure or trigger. Any of these you can create using the create statement. Okay. So then, sorry, just a moment. Yeah. So it is mandatory that you should have one stored procedure and one trigger in your mini project. Okay, so you'll have to be learning about that also, stored procedure and trigger, and you should implement it in your mini project. Okay. Okay, we'll see drop. So what is this drop? It is used to delete objects from the database. So what you have created using create statement, that thing you can drop. Like you can drop a table, an index or a stored procedure, a view or a trigger, you can drop. Drop means it will be removed from the memory. Okay. So if you create a table using create statement, you can delete it using drop statement. Then alter. Alter is a command which is used to alter the structure of the database. Suppose you want to extend the design of the table. For example, you have already created a table with 5 fields, but you want to add a 6th field. Then you can use alter to add, or you can modify the existing also. Suppose for example, the data type of a particular field you have given as integer, but you want to change it as a character, then also you can go for alter. Or you want to vary the size of a field, then also you can go for alter. Then truncate. Truncate is used to remove all the records from a table, including all spaces allocated for the records. So you can remove all the records from a table using truncate. Then comment is used to add comments to the data dictionary. Then rename is used to rename an object existing in the database. It is used to rename an object which is existing in the database. So that is about the DDL, data definition language. So next, data query language. Data query language, okay, DML statements are used for performing queries on the data within schema object. Okay, I think the heading is okay. DML is to manipulate the data which is present in the database. DQL is used to access query. Query means question. You question the database for retrieving some information. Example of DQL is select. Okay, select is a major statement in database management system which we are using in most of the operations to retrieve the data based on various conditions. Then DML. DML is data manipulation language. SQL commands that deals with the manipulation of the data. Manipulation means updation, deletion, addition, such kind of operations. They belong to DML, data manipulation language. So examples of DML are insert. Insert, after you create a table, you want to insert some data into the table. So simply if you create a table, there will not be any data inside the table, right? So you will be using insert statement to insert the data into the table. Then if you want to change some data, for example, you have stored the details of fuel in a table, and like petrol charges, fuel charges increases, then you have to update from older rate to the newer rate, right? So that is by using update statement. Then delete statement is used for deleting records from the database. For example, you have a student database, a student table, where you need to delete the particular student who have dropped out of the course. Okay, so who have gone out of the course, that particular student data you need to take out from the table, then you can go for delete statement. Then DCL. DCL deals with the rights, permissions and other controls of the database system. The examples of DCL are grant. Grant gives the access privileges to the database. Grant the privilege means you can access that database, you can access this database, you cannot access. That kind of granting privileges is done by the grant command. Revoke is withdraw the user privileges. Okay, so what you have granted the privileges, you can withdraw it using the revoke command. Then another type of language is also there, which is called as transaction control language, TCL in short. It deals with the transaction within the database. Just a moment. Okay. TCL deals with the transaction within the database. Examples of TCL commands are commit. It commits a transaction. Commit means save permanently. Okay, commit means save permanently. After you perform some operations, if you execute the command commit, then whatever the changes you have done, whatever you have created, stored, that will be permanently saved. Rollback. Rollback a transaction in case of any error occurs. So here this word transaction you need to know. So what is a transaction? Transaction means it is a set of operations. Okay. See, for example, when you perform one banking transaction, what are all the operations come into picture? Like if you are withdrawing some amount from the ATM, that is a transaction, right? So what different operations you will perform there? You insert the card, then that card need to be identified by the ATM machine, then it will ask for the PIN, then you need to enter the PIN. It has to verify whether that PIN matches with that card, then it will give you access to your account, then you can go to withdraw, then you enter the amount you want to withdraw, it will calculate and it will give you that amount. And before giving the amount, it has to check whether that amount, sufficient amount is there in your balance in your account or not. After verifying, it will give you, if sufficient balance is not there, then it will give you the message that insufficient balance, right? If sufficient balance is there, then it will give you the amount. Then after it gives you the amount, you will take the, it should give you the access of taking the card, and also it should deduct the amount. For example, if your account is having 10,000 rupees, then you are withdrawing 5,000 rupees. So that 5,000 rupees should be deducted in your account, and remaining 5,000 should be your balance, right? That updation has to be done, right? So all those operations coming under one transaction. Okay, small operations are there now. So all those small operations makes one transaction. If in case meanwhile some operation is a failure, for example insufficient balance, so that is a failure, then will your transaction be successful? No, right? So all the operations in a transaction should be successful, then only one complete transaction will be successful. All those small operations what we are performing should be successful to make one complete transaction successful. Okay, so if in case in the middle any error occurs, then it should roll back to the beginning of the transaction. That means all the small operations in a transaction have to be executed, or none of them should be executed. Completely should be successful, or it shouldn't be successful at all. So that is rollback. If in the middle somewhere one small operation is a failure, then that complete transaction has to be rolled back. That is rollback operation. Then save point. Save point are the some points where you can set for rollback. Okay, till which save point it has to roll back, that you can set. Okay, that is save point. Then set transaction. It specifies the characteristics for the transaction. So those are the transaction control language operations. So next, some terminology you should know with respect to the database. Here in database management system, we call a table as a relation. Okay, we call a table as a relation, and the properties are attributes, and the rows which are coming in a table we call them as tuples or tuples, you can call them as. Okay, so these you should know, because in your theory also you'll be learning with same terminology. So a table is called as a relation. Properties of an entity, like as we discussed now, customer has customer number, customer name, customer city, those are all the properties of the customer, we call them as attributes. And the rows in a table are called as tuples, or you can call them as tuples. Okay, first we will go for creating a table using SQL. We have studied about SQL, right? SQL is structured query language. In that we had come across create in DDL, right? Data definition language. We have create. So how to create a table? We create a table to store the data. Okay, data in the database is stored in the form of a table. Hence we need to create a table. Okay, so how to create a table? Let us see. So create table specifies new base relation by giving it a name. So how to create a table? You have to give a name and specifying its attributes and their data types. Okay, so computer should understand now what it should store, how it has to store. For that you have to specify the name of the table and the attributes names and what data type those attributes are. So supported data types are integer, float, decimal. You can specify I comma j. Decimal means I is the number of digits before the decimal point, j is number of digits after the decimal point. then character and varchar. Okay, so it is also a character type only, but it is variable character. Okay, this is character, but this is variable character. That means if you say character of 10, then all 10 will be fixed. All 10 bytes will be fixed. Okay, even if you don't use it also, like if you would like to store a name, so you store a name as Latha, Latha, 5 letters. Okay, but you have given 10 bytes to it. So another 5 bytes will be padded with spaces. Okay, blank spaces. So it is fixed, but variable character is not like that. You have given variable character of 10. But if you store only 5 character name Latha, the remaining 5 characters will be given back to the heap. Okay, so efficient usage of memory will be done by the variable character. Okay, that is what I said. Variable character is of variable length and character is fixed length. Any remaining space in character field is padded with blanks. A constraint not null may also be specified on the attribute. Not null. Not null means you should give some value. Okay, so every person will have a name. Every student will have a USN. So no student is there without an USN, right? No person without a name is there. So it should be not null, means it shouldn't have a null value. It should have some value, but you can have null value for a phone number. Every person we cannot expect to have a phone number, right? Every person cannot have a degree. So those can be null, they can have null values also. But a name or an USN, such kind of values cannot be null. That's why we are specifying it as not null. So let us see how you can create a table. So using the statement create table student. So let us create a student table here and store some student details. So create table, these two are the keywords. Okay, create and table are the keywords. Student is an identifier. You know what is an identifier? You have studied in C language, right? Identifier is a name given to a entity to our own name. It is given our own name to identify some entity, right? So like it may be a variable name or a array name or a pointer name, function name. It is given by us. It is not built in, right? So that is an identifier. So student is our own given name. So create table, name of the table is student. Then you open a brace here. Then you start listing the attributes of the student. So what attributes a student can have? A student can have USN, name, age, date of birth, percentage, address, etc. Right? So those I have listed here few of the attributes of the students. Let us see. Student USN, which I have taken as variable character of 8, as your USN is of 8 characters. And you can note one thing, that it is a primary key. So what is this primary key? Primary key is also a keyword. Primary key means every table should have a primary key to identify a unique value in a table. For example, if in your class, let us list all the students, there may be repeated names, right? And there may be students with repeated percentages. There may be students with repeated date of birth, isn't it? But what data is not repeated in every student? That is the USN, right? USN is a unique value. USN is university seat number, is a unique value which is not repeated for any student. Each student is having a unique USN. So that we will make as primary key to uniquely identify each student in the class. Okay. Then Next attribute is name. Name of the student, var of 10. I have taken 10 characters for name. You can take more also, there is no restriction. I will say not null because there should be a name for every student. Okay, and the phone. Phone I have taken as big int. This is a data type available in MySQL. Why big int? Because phone number consisting of 10 digits, which is beyond the range of integer, right? So I have taken phone number as big int. And it is also not null because we want some phone number for contacting a student. So I have given it as not null. If the student doesn't have his own phone number, a parent phone number can be given. Then date of birth is date. So here look at this, date is also a data type in SQL. In C we didn't have this data type, right? So here date is also a data type. So date of birth is stored as date. Then percentage float. Okay, I have taken percentage as float. Okay, so because somebody may get 76.85, 82.32, okay, like that. So I have taken the percentage as a float value. So this is how you create a table, and at the end you close the here you close the at the end bracket and put a semicolon indicating the end of the create statement. Okay, every statement will be ended by a semicolon to indicate the end of the statement. Are you clear with this? First, create table is done with create statement. Table, create what you are creating. You are creating a table. Name of the table is student. Open the brace, then start listing all the attributes. So then attributes along with the data types and the sizes and some constraints. See, this not null, primary key, all those are called as constraints. Some rules, some restrictions you are setting for that particular attribute of the student. Okay, so USN is a variable character, 8 character you can store. Then it is a primary key indicating that there is no repetition. See, primary key indicate that there will not be any repetition of the value, and it cannot be blank also. Okay, no repetition, no blank. Okay, then name is also a variable character of 10 characters, and it is not null, means it should have some value, it cannot be null. Then phone number is a big int because it is beyond the range of integers, 10 digits. So I have taken it as big int, and it is also not null, it cannot have a blank value. You can give not null to date of birth and percentage also, not a problem. Okay, then date of birth is of type date and percentage is of type float. Okay, and finally you close the brace and put a semicolon. After this, if no syntax errors are there in this, if no syntax mistake may be like you have opened a brace and you have not closed, no semicolon, no commas. See, after every attribute is listed, you can see here the commas are given to separate each and every attribute, right? So, sorry. Yeah. So after every attribute is listed, there is a comma. So if you have not given a comma and some spelling mistakes are there in the keywords, in such case you may get some error. It will show you the line number also, in which line number the error is present. Then you can correct it and re-execute it. So if everything goes right, then you will get this message, table created. Okay, successfully table will be created if there are no errors when you type the query. This is called as a query. Okay, this is called as a query, and through this query we are asking the database to create a table called student with so and so attributes. Is that clear? You can ask me if you have any doubts. Okay, after you create the table, Inside the database, a table like this will be created with the attributes USN, name, phone number, date of birth and percentage, but there will be no data which is stored under these attributes. Okay, so only because we have created the structure of the table, but we have not entered any data to be stored within the table, right? So let us see how you can do that. Before that, let us see another data type called decimal, which is having P and S as attributes. P is the precision, maximum total number of decimal digits stored both to the left and right of the decimal point. Precision has range 1 to 38. S is the scale, which is the number of decimal digits that will be stored to the right of the decimal point. After the decimal point, how many decimal digits you will store, that is the S. And maximum total number of decimal digits is P. Numeric and decimal are synonyms. You can use any one of them interchangeably. So you can use decimal 10,2 or decimal DEC 10,2 is also possible. This data type you can use. Numeric 10,2 can also be used. Okay, so after creating, there is another DDL drop command, which is used for deleting the table from the memory. It is used to remove a relation or a table and its definition completely from the memory. The relation can no longer be used in queries, updates or any other commands. After you drop the table, you will not be able to use it for any of the operations like querying, updating or any other commands. You cannot apply onto that table because that will not be existing in the memory. How to drop a table? This is the syntax. Drop table, these two are the keywords. Drop table, then table name you will specify. Okay, so when you say drop table student, then student table will be removed. Next, alter table. It is used to add an attribute to one of the base relations. So like as I said, now we have only few attributes in the student table. Suppose you would like to add address attribute, student address attribute to the student table, then you can alter the table for adding a new attribute. Example, alter table name. Okay, see this table word comes for all DDLs. Create table, drop table, alter table. This table word comes for all statements of the DDL, data definition language. Alter table, table name. Add is a keyword again. You can also use modify to modify an existing structure, but we are adding here, so we are using add keyword. Add address field whose data type is variable character and the size of which is 20. Okay, this is how you alter the table. Alter table, table name. Add is a keyword which is used to add the new field which is address and the data type of which is varchar, that is variable character with 20 size. So after this, your student table will be updated with new address field. Next, create schema. Create schema means creating the database. As I said, the database structure is the schema in a formal language. So here it specifies new schema by giving a name. Usually it is called as a database. Example. So first you specify create database university. Like we have created a student table now. You can create it under university database. You can create library table. You can create internal score table. You can create fee details table. Everything under university. Results table. Okay. So all those tables you can create under university database, where you are going to store all students' details. So create database university and use university. After creating, you should start using it. Then you will enter into this university database. Under that, you can go on creating the tables and store the values and perform the operations. Then, as I said, after creating the table will be empty. There will not be any value, right? So how to give values, how to populate the table by giving some values? That is by using insert into statement. So let us see how you can use it. Insert new records into the table. We use insert statement. The syntax goes like this. Insert into, these are the keywords, then the table name you have to specify here, to which table you are going to insert the value. Then values is a keyword again. Then start listing the values, value 1, value 2, value 3, or how many attributes you have listed for this table. Those many values you can specify here. Okay, so insert into table name, values, and go on giving the values for all the attributes. You have one more syntax of this insert. We will study in the later discussions. So example, to insert some values into student table, insert into student values. Then I will start giving the values. This is the USN. This is the name of the student, phone number, date of birth, and percentage. Okay, these are the values I have given for the student table. The syntax is like this: insert into student values, open the brace, then list all the data which you have listed as attributes to the student table. Then finally close the brace and put a semicolon, which will be completing the query. And you should note one more thing here, that few of the values are having single quotes. Do you observe? See, this USN, name, and date of birth are having quotes. Can you guess why? Because they are non-numeric values. They are strings, character values. Okay, that's why we know in C also we have studied that character is enclosed in single quotes and strings are enclosed in double quotes, right? Similarly here, the character values should be enclosed in single quotes. So we have taken USN as varchar, name as varchar, and date also is a string, so you have to enclose in single quotes. Whereas phone number is a big int, it is an integer value, and percentage is float. So these two are numeric values, so we have not taken them in single quotes. Okay, we have not taken them in single quotes. So after you execute this without any mistake, then you will get a message, one row inserted, okay, or one row affected. So such message you will get. So that data what you have given within this insert statement will be inserted into the table. So your table now looks like this. So you can enter 2 more rows or few more rows. So I have entered here 3 rows. So after that your table will look like this. The first row which we have inserted in the previous slide is this one. Similarly you enter 2 more rows with these values. Then you check the table. Then your table will be having all these values. Okay, how to check that table? You have to go for select statement. We will discuss it in the later slides. Select star from student. If you say, then it will give you all the, star means all the attributes from the student table it will list. So your table will look like this. Okay, next let us see the retrieval queries in SQL. Retrieval means what values we have stored in the database, we can retrieve them, we can see them, we can check them. Based on some condition also, you can check them. Okay, for that you use a select statement. Okay, and you will be using select from where block. Okay, select from where, those keywords will be using for select statement. So it will be like this: select, and you specify attribute list which you want to see. For example, attribute list means if for example you want to see name and USN, you can say select name comma USN. From table list, so you can have as we discussed the advantages of database management system, concurrent access, right? So from multiple tables simultaneously you can access the data. So you can have multiple tables here. So that we have not yet discussed. We will discuss it later. So as of now we will take only student table. Select USN name from student. We can take from student, name of the student table, and then where condition, you can specify some condition. Select which attributes you want to select, you specify here. If multiple attributes are there, you can specify them with comma, separate them with comma. From is a keyword. After that you can give the table name. As of now we have created student, you can give student here. Where is a keyword again. Where is optional actually. You can simply use select and from only. Where is optional. When you have to specify some condition, then only we'll be using where the condition you will specify. Okay, we'll see some examples, then it will be more clear to you. Look at this example. Select star from student. Okay, select star. So look at the previous slide. Select attribute list. We are not giving any attribute list here, rather we are giving a star. So what is star? Means all. Okay, star means all. So we are not selectively selecting any attribute, but we are selecting all the attributes. Okay, select all attributes from student. So now you can see all the attributes here: USN, name, phone number, date of birth and percentage. So all the attributes you can see here from student table. See, I said where is optional, where clause is optional. We have not used it here. We have used only select and from. See, select and from we have used. We have omitted this where clause. It is optional. Only when you have to give some condition, you have to use where, otherwise it's not necessary. Select all attributes from student. So then it will select all the attributes and all the values it will display. Okay. So next query is particularly a particular attribute if you would like to see. Like phone numbers of the student you would like to see, then you can say select phone from student. Okay, select phone from student. So it will display only the phone numbers. Okay, it will not display all the attributes because we are interested in only phone number. Only this phone number attribute will be displayed. So selectively we are specifying the attribute. You can have more attribute list also here. See, like select USN and percentage, two attributes. Previously we have seen only one attribute. We were accessing only one attribute, that is phone number. In this case we are accessing two attributes, USN and percentage. Selectively any attribute you can access. Select USN comma percentage from student. Semicolon is a must to end the query. Okay, so this query will let you display USN and percentage of all the students present in the student table. Is that clear? Please ask me if you have any doubts in between. Okay, next we have select USN from student. Here we are using where clause because we are giving some condition here. See, so now what we are expecting, what result we are expecting is we want to see the USNs of the students who have scored greater than 80%. Okay, I want to see the USNs and percentages of the students who have percentage greater than 80. Okay, so here there is a mistake, because select USN is only given, this percentage will not be displayed. Okay, this attribute will not be displayed. If you want to display this one also, then you can give a comma percentage. Okay, select USN comma percentage from student where percentage greater than 80. There are two students with percentage greater than 80, right? Have you observed in the previous table? See, here the percentages of three different students, out of which two students are having percentage greater than 80, right? Only those two details will be displayed here. The USNs of the students who are having percentage greater than 80 will only be displayed. Is that clear? Here we are using where clause with some condition. So another condition here with a where clause. Select name comma phone number. So name and phone both we are accessing from student table where USN equal to the USN value you give. Okay, the USN 001. I want to know the name of 001 and the phone number of 001. Then I can give like this. Select name and phone number from student table where USN is 001. And that USN should be enclosed in single quotes, because we have studied previously that it is a string type. It should be enclosed in single quotes. Okay, so it is displaying the name of the 001 is Abhinav and this is the phone number of Abhinav. Okay, so that is how you can access the data which is stored in the database by specifying some condition. Then you can also make use of some aggregate functions to select the data more specifically. The aggregate functions are like sum. There are 5 aggregate functions: sum, count, average, min and max. So like you can access the sum of percentages of all the students in the class. How many students are there in the class can be accessed by count aggregate function. Then average percentage of the class you can take from average aggregate function. Who have scored minimum marks in a particular subject can be accessed by min aggregate function. Who have scored maximum marks, who is the topper of the class, can be found out by using the max aggregate function. Okay, so these are 5 aggregate functions which we have in SQL to more specifically access the data from the database. Let us see how we can use them. So there are some examples I have quoted here. Select count star from student. So what it will count? It will count everything. Okay, it will count everything from student. So how many students are there? You will come to know by this query. Okay. Then next query is select count star from student. It will count everything, but based on some condition is given here. It will count the number of students where percentage is greater than 80. It will count the number of students who have scored the percentage greater than 80. That means according to our data only 2 students, right? So this will give you the count of students who have scored percentage greater than 80. So you will get 2 is the output of this query. Then I want to see the average percentage of the class. Then I can say select average percentage from student. Here not necessary to give any condition. Directly you can say select average percentage from student. Then it will give you the average percentage of the class student table. Another example is select USN from student where percentage equal to maximum percentage, means the topper. We want to find out who is the topper in the class. For that we will write here select USN from student where percentage equal to maximum percentage. Okay. Then select minimum percentage from student. Okay, select minimum percentage from student. So who have scored minimum percentage, we will see here. So that is how you can make use of aggregate functions in SQL. Next we will see the usage of like operator by specifying some pattern, searching the value by giving some pattern. For example, I want to know the students whose name starts with A, or I want to find out the percentage which starts with 8. Okay, and I want to know the students who belongs to the city which starts with the letter B. Okay, like that if I would like to write, then I can specify some pattern. So how I can write the pattern? Using this like operator. Let us see how you can do that. It is used in where clause. It will search for pattern given. It uses two wildcards. One is percentage symbol, the other one is underscore. Percentage symbol can match 0, 1 or more multiple characters, but underscore can match only single character. Okay, underscore can match only single character, but percentage can match 0 or more characters. Let us see how you can use them. Syntax is like this: select column 1, column 2, that is attributes, from particular table where column like pattern. Like is a keyword. After that the pattern you should specify. Let us see an example. So before that, here how patterns are written is given here, where customer name like A percentage, means first letter should be A followed by anything. Here anything can be there in the beginning, but it should end with A. Percentage has come in the beginning. See, percentage has come in the beginning, A is in the end. So anything may be there in the beginning, but it should end with A. Then here it is percentage or percentage. That means it should start with anything, in the middle or should come, and it can end with anything. That is the meaning. Then here, see here underscore is there, means one character. First character may be anything, second character should be R followed by anything. Something may be there, may not be there, because 0 or more characters it matches, no? That's why. Then here A underscore percentage, that means after A it should start with A. After A there can be one character, any one character, and it may be followed by something or nothing. Okay. Similarly here it start with A followed by two underscores, means two characters. So minimum three characters must be there, followed by anything. Something may be there, may not be there. Here A percentage O, that means it should start with A, end with O, in between anything may be there, may not be there. That is the meaning of this patterns, which we use in like statement. Okay, let us see how with our table how we can implement it. Select star means all attributes from the student table where name is this attribute, like A percentage, means name should start with A and followed by anything. There are two students whose name starts with A, right? We have Abhinav, Arya, and the third one is Binu, right? So we have two names which are starting with A. So it is listing only two names. Binu is not listed because it starts with B. So that pattern will not match with this pattern. So it is not listing Binu's name here. Okay, Abhinav and Arya starting with letter A. So it is displaying it. Is that clear? That is how you write patterns with like. Okay, after this there are some other queries which you can try yourself. Like you can create a table called employee with your own attributes. Insert 5 tuples, 5 rows. Tuples means rows. 5 rows means 5 employee details you enter. Then using insert statement. Then add another attribute using alter command, means another additional attribute add using alter command. Then update an existing value which I have not taught here, that's why I have made it red. You find out yourself how to make use of update statement and try doing it. Then try all variations of select statements which I have discussed here. With the student table I have discussed, you have to try with employee table. All types of select statements, like statement, with where condition, without where condition. Okay, you have to try that. Then delete some selected tuples. This also I have not taught you. Delete statement I have not taught you. But find out how to delete a particular tuple. For example, delete a student detail whose USN is 001, or delete a student with phone number so and so. Okay, so that delete statement you try to write. Okay, you Google for that, find out the syntax and try to write. Okay, thank you.